Andy, there's a whole world out there. Jump in.
Can you dig it?
Yeah.
You must always pay strict attention.
I was just completely enamored by it the entire time.
Dude, he did not have to go that hard.
I know, man. Isn't it wild?
The Jaredcast.
So it begins.
Good morning. Sorry to my colleagues' ears here. But welcome to the Jaredcast, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else. I'm here, as always, your Jared A., the brown Jared. I'm also here with the white Jared.
I think that's the first time we've divulged those nicknames
I was gonna ask
on this podcast.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll tell the story.
Yeah, get to the origin story.
I'm Filipino, in case you couldn't tell by my last name. But I'm here with my co-host, co-producer, Jared Lombardo. And with us today, we have a very special guest for our Dino Thunder episode, Mr. Brian Baker, one of my dearest friends from school. How you doing, Brian?
I am wonderful. I am so excited. I am ecstatic and elated. I'm feeling scaly.
The excitement goes both ways.
If you were anything else, I probably wouldn't have done it. Yeah, we have with us yet another friend from San Francisco State University. Brian's a very talented sound man, editing, mixing, recording, you name it. He's the man. But we're not here to explore that. We're here to talk about some dinosaur movies.
Ooh.
Hell yeah.
So right here in front of us, we got Disney's Dinosaur. We got a kind of obscure miniseries called Dinotopia. Can't wait to get into that one with you guys.
Yeah.
And then we have Steven Spielberg's classic Jurassic Park.
Never heard of it.
But yeah, before that, we got a top 3, don't we, Jared?
Oh, we sure fucking do. And I could not be more excited. I'm probably as excited for this top 3 as I am to record the whole episode. Not gonna lie. It's a fantastic idea. Probably my favorite that we've come up with, courtesy of Brown Jared over here. It's top 3.
Well, hold on. You're gonna go off on Brown Jared. I gotta tell the story real quick. We gotta do a segue.
Okay.
If you're gonna keep calling him that, if you're gonna keep
That's
calling
true.
him that, the story must be told. Okay.
Sounds good.
So for all the viewers out there, for the 5% that aren't the San Francisco crew that already know all of us, my name is Brian. This is Jared Anganan, and this is Jared Lombardo. Okay. In 2018, we all ridiculously decided to go to China to film a documentary to get 6 units, which we would always say while we were taking and posing for pictures. Yeah.
Anytime we were forced to do anything.
Yeah, anytime we were forced to do anything that we didn't want to, we would say 6 units, at least we're earning it. And in the very, very first meeting, because we were all forced to learn Mandarin, we all got up in front of the class and did the usual BS that like elementary school students do. Like, hey, this is what I did over summer, and this is my dad's favorite food, and, you know, this is my favorite color, and all that. And Jared Lombardo got up and he said, hey, my name's Jared. And, you know, not to be confused with the other Jared in the room, you guys can just call me White Jared. And we're all like, oh, okay, I guess, you know, because
freak.
Right. In this day and age, you know, when you make sort of racial remarks or remarks about skin color, it's not so bad when you're a white guy talking about your whiteness. Everyone goes, yeah, okay, yeah, you're just a white dude, whatever. And then And then Jared gets up with this big ass smile on his face. You can see all 32 of those teeth. And he goes, "Hey guys, my name's also Jared, but as you can see, I'm not white and I'm brown. And so you can just call me Brown Jared."
So
from that day forward,
Yeah.
everybody started calling them White Jared, Brown Jared, and of course, I started calling you BJ, which other people thought was ridiculous. I thought it was a term of endearment, and now and now it's caught on, and we've come to the name Beej for sure. And
I just had to from my original name.
I know, right? Jared A, and now you're Beej. And I just had to share that for people. I just had to, because if we're gonna go forward calling you Brown Jared, we have to know who we're talking about and why. Okay, that's all.
The best part of that is when you say everybody started calling, we mean everybody, including the professor. God bless her. Always calling her student Brown Jared, which probably breaks some sort of law or something. Oh, it's beautiful. I love it.
She did, didn't she?
I think she forgot that my last name was my last name because she started calling me Jared Brown.
You're right, dude. She did, and she was so sweet about it too. Like, Jared Brown, come here. You know, and it was just so perfect. Oh, that's so funny. I'm sorry. I had to explain away. Please come back to regaling us about top three.
I'm glad we could get that away at the top.
I told you what 3-4 weeks ago I would tell that story.
That is true. That is true. A man of his word, this one. Yeah, we got a great top three today. We threw some ideas around, mostly normal ones, but instead we decided on top 3 fictional animals that we would like to eat, that we'd like to consume, cook up into a nice meal, maybe fry, maybe boil, and eat the fuck out of. And I could not be more excited to hear your guys' options. Why don't we have the guest kick things off for us with his number 3?
Okay, for sure. Okay, I do have to say this has got to be one of the most fantastic ideas. And when you texted us the ideas, I completely read over it like it was nothing. Like fictional animals, yeah, whatever. Whatever. Movie trailers, hell yeah, I'm down for movie trailers. And then White Jared, you came back with fictional animals speaks to me, in a way I can't explain. And I went, what? Fictional animals you want to eat? What are you talking about? So I reread it, and it just lit up. And I went, oh my God, I'm so down. And so that's why we forego the coin flip and just went straight for it. So
yeah,
this one, so I came up with 2 of them pretty quick. And I'm gonna go in ascending order. So like the last one is like my most desired.
Gotcha.
And the first one is kind of like So
I needed the first in front of me.
Right. I needed a third one, exactly. So the first one, I'll have to ask you guys, do we want to play it safe or do we want to be totally ridiculous?
Dude, go out there. Go wild. Okay. I don't give a fuck.
All right.
Yeah, we've already called me Brown Jared.
Yeah, this episode is a lost cause already.
All right.
Okay, and we're talking about Dinotopia in this episode.
Yes. Yes, we are. Okay, so then I think you guys will like this one. My first fictional animal that I would like to eat, probably for breakfast. Okja. I don't know if you guys have. I don't know if you guys have seen this film,
Yup.
but it is about a giant, genetically enhanced pig who's about as big as my car. I have a Nissan Rogue, pretty big pig, and the whole movie is about animal rights and activism and not eating animals. And I was talking to my girlfriend earlier, and she said, "Oh my God, that's awful." And I said, "Yeah, but it's something about the forbidden fruit. Like, you can't have it.
Yeah.
You don't eat it because of animal rights, but like that just makes me want it for breakfast even more." So, that could be breakfast for weeks. Okja, giant pig. So that's my number one.
There's at least like 30 seconds in that movie of them talking about how good the meat is. Of the cicadas.
Right.
You can go ahead, Jared.
All right. Jared and I were talking before we started recording about like if we picked any who are like distinct characters or just like general animals that exist in a fictional world. This one was a general animal, but the more I think about it, I got a specific one in mind. So I'm mixing it up a little bit from that. My number 3 is the beloved hero Buckbeak from Harry Potter. I'm down for some hippogriff meat. You can't tell me that meat ain't lean as fuck right there. That's some free range, grade A.
That's some Superfly.
Yeah, that's the
You're
Larry
gonna go
Harry
through all the
Potter.
trouble of killing that thing, and then it's just gonna taste like chicken.
No, well, hey, I'll take it. I'm curious. I had to look up. I was like, well, I got to make sure hippogriff meat is edible, because got to do my research. And I actually found 4 recipes that people for some reason put up for hippogriff soup. We got some pot stickers. We got a Hamburg steak with changeling sauce and hippogriff sausage. So if you're in the mood, I got some seasoning ready. We can whip up some Buckbeak in a rush.
Please tell me they titled them Potter stickers, right?
They weren't that clever.
I guess we're a fictional animal, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Buckbeak.
wow, that's
number 3.
surprising, man. Yeah. Okay.
What about
That'd probably
you,
be
Jared?
pretty good.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll let you know.
Take a trip down to Universal.
Yeah.
So my number 3 is so even though the whole point of the story Moby Dick is that wanting to kill Moby Dick is a fruitless endeavor. It's pointless. It'll end in nothing but death. My number 3 is Moby Dick. I've never tasted whale meat. Let's put that out there. I've never tasted whale or dolphin or any other intelligent mammal in the sea. But I want my first time to be the white whale.
So it sounds like you'll never eat whale meat then.
You'll never
catch it.
All right. What's your number 2 for us, Brian?
Okay, my number 2. Okay, I do not like this movie at all.
Ooh.
I did not enjoy this movie. I know a lot of people also did not enjoy this movie, but I also know a lot of people defend this movie. And I think these creatures play into people's likability of this film because
I think I have this on my list too.
even though it's a pretty shitty film, they try to throw in a lot of humor, and a lot of humor comes from these dumbass little animals, and I don't really get behind it. Which is partly why I want to eat one of them, but I'm gonna go with the porgs.
I knew it. I knew you would find some way to shit on the Last Jedi.
I'm gonna go with the porgs from the Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, and I don't know, man. I mean, part of it's out of spite, for sure. You called it. Part of it's definitely out of spite because, damn, man, they're just so annoying. I don't find them funny at all. But Chewbacca roasts one over a fire, and in true classic The Last Jedi, suspend every ounce of disbelief possible fashion, it's like perfectly seasoned and perfectly roasted and like crispy brown and just like waiting for you to take a bite of it. And it looks so good. And then once the joke is made that it is a porg, you just, at least for me, I just want to eat it even more. So that's my number 2 for sure. And I won't stop until I eat the last porg.
Yeah, that's fair. My number 2 is also porgs. Fuck porgs, dude. They're the minions of Star Wars, and I want them to die.
That's the perfect explanation. I forgot to... Dude, that's perfect. That is the best way to describe it.
Dude, cook me up a porg cordon bleu. Give me a porgon bleu, and I'm there. I'm there, man. That shit looked delicious on that stick. I would have taken a fat bite right in front of that motherfucker and grabbed him for dessert. Yeah. Number 2, porgs. I'll keep it short.
You would have grabbed some mermaid titty milk for dessert, right?
Dude, nothing hits a spot more than ice cream made from mermaid titties.
For sure. So we are in accord, to quote Dinotopia. We're in accord.
Is that the first time we've had like not just a matching item but a matching number?
I think so.
Probably,
I think it is.
That's awesome. I totally forgot about the porgs, but my number 2 is it's weird because it already starts out dead. So spoiler alert for the movie Midsamar. But they carve out a bear and they put a guy in it and then they burn it. And they just don't use the meat. And I want to... So I'm going to take all the leftover meat from the bear in Midsamar.
Oh, I thought you meant you were going to eat him after he was done roasting. And
right.
No.
And like the 9 other people in there. Like the 9 other people in there with him.
You're shitting on us for wanting to eat Buckbeak, but you're here cannibalizing a motherfucker. Okay, that makes way more sense.
No. We're not going that far in this top 3. Although it would be fun to do a top 3 like characters we would cannibalize.
Oh my god, it's getting dark.
That's the next evolution.
Yeah, this is only gonna last 1 season, guys. You're gonna reach a certain point where you can't go back anymore.
Yeah.
Wait, okay.
My parents raised me to waste nothing, to leave no food in the to go to waste, to rot. So I'm just gonna take all that sacrificial bear meat for myself.
Okay, so I have a question. And I'm not trying to be nitpicky, but I have a question. Although Midsamar is a film, a bear is a real creature. So does that fall under the category of a fictional animal? Or is it fictional because it exists purely within a fictional film?
I went with the latter as like my excuse for keeping
it
in the
Okay, it's, for sure.
It's that bear specifically, right? Not just a bear.
Yeah,
Okay.
You can get bear meat anytime.
Right. You wouldn't just pick the Revenant bear because you were mad that it slashed up Leonardo DiCaprio. I feel it. Or that shitty CGI bear from The Golden Compass that came out a long time ago. I hear you.
Pulling out the
okay.
golden compass in this episode.
That's a whole other episode in itself, right?
Yeah, for real.
Oh my god.
All
Wow.
right, number 1, Brian. Hit us
Well,
with it.
is it okay if I just segue super fast? I just thought of another one.
Yeah, honorable mention.
Honorable mention, exactly. Chilled monkey brains from the Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom. I just thought of it, dude, and it disgusts me like crazy, but it makes me curious. And the guy is so excited about it. Chilled monkey brains. Like, he's so happy.
It's
Like,
a
it's the
delicacy.
best thing. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so my top pick. I'm gonna stay a little bit in universe for this one.
Okay.
I'm
All
looking
right.
at Jared laughing like we might have the same one again. I'm gonna stay a little. I'm gonna stay a little bit in universe. This one is from The Mandalorian, Disney Plus TV show. And in episode 2, there's a whole episode dedicated to Mando's ship getting ripped apart by Jawas, who are like my favorite Star Wars characters of all time because they just go, Utini! And it's just so good. It used to be my text tone alert on my phone every time I got a text, Utini! Which, trivia means come over here. Anyways, the whole episode is dedicated... The whole episode is dedicated to the Mandalorian getting pieces of his ship back, if I remember correctly, from the scavenger Jawas. And in order to do so, they ask him to go defeat a creature called the Mudhorn and retrieve its egg. And it's like a giant egg. And so after the whole episode, he finally comes back with this egg unscathed. And it's like this pristine, perfect egg, like bigger than my head. And he gives it to the Jawas, and they just crack it open and start eating it like fucking animals. Just like goopy, droopy egg all over the place, all over their faces. And it's like this iridescent, glowing, beautiful yellow-orange color. And like, I like eggs. And so I saw that egg, and your first reaction is like, oh God, what are they doing? And then your second reaction is like, God damn, that looks tasty. I would love to fry up. I would love to fry up a hippogriff omelet with that thing, dude. Like
there you go.
So my top choice is the Mudhorn egg from The Mandalorian. Just looks, and something about it too is like Jawas from the original Star Wars, like they don't fuck around. Like if they take something of yours, it's theirs. Like they do not play. Like this is mine. Don't come at me. And for them to actually offer to give Mando back his armor just for this egg, like it's gotta be good. It's gotta be good.
That's a delectable egg.
Yeah, so that's my top.
Yeah. I had an honorable mention that was very similar. I don't know how big of Pokemon nerds you guys were growing up. But that's the universe I'm jumping to here. My honorable mention was Togepi, because I was like, oh yeah, dude, I'd crack that motherfucker open, fry that bitch up. We're good. But it's not the most delicious Pokemon, because the most delicious Pokemon has to be Farfetch'd, according to lore too. Like that's canon in the universe. There's a Pokédex intro or entry that says Farfetch'd makes a delicious meal, especially when cooked with leech. Because of this, Farfetch'd is nearly extinct. This motherfucker was hunted to extinction because it's that delicious. And so I gotta try me. I gotta try me. Yeah, right? But a damn good tasting one.
Oh my god! Right, because I am not a Pokemon person at all. Yeah. I know three Pokemon, but I'm looking at him on my phone right now. He's a wild duck.
Yeah, I'm getting myself some Farfetch'd foie gras.
What is he already holding his own seasoning? He's already holding a green onion.
This motherfucker comes prepared. You just drop him in a pot and you're good to go.
Straight up holding a green onion, like, eat me, fool.
Yeah, dude. He's asking for it. How could I not? And he's like weak as shit, so I could take him. I could catch this motherfucker.
Oh, that's great, Jared. That's great.
So Farfetch, number 1.
Awesome.
Hell yeah. My number 1 is a bit of a curveball. I didn't go with one that appears in any movies or TV. It appears in a video game.
Ooh.
Oh.
It's the legendary albino gator from Red Dead Redemption 2. This is one of the scariest animals I've ever had to kill in a video game. It's so crazy. It feels like a conquest when you kill it. Unless you just buy a bunch of explosive ammo, then it's easy. You can also make a bunch of dope gear from its skin and its teeth. But I was kind of disappointed because you just leave the meat. You don't take any, or you kind of take some meat, but like for the most part, you're just leaving the carcass there because it's so huge. But I just want to, if I were to hunt it, I would make some nice spicy alligator gumbo from that giant swamp monster.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Have
That
you ever
sounds
had
good,
alligator?
boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It tastes like
Very
chicken.
Very chewy.
Yeah.
I had it at one of Guy Fieri's restaurants.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which is
Dude,
the most
it's-
appropriate place to have alligator jambalaya.
It's Fieri?
Sorry. I apologize to our Lord and Savior. All right. You boys
Hey.
ready to get into some dinosaur shit?
Let's do it.
All right. Quite literally. First up is Dinosaur 2000, directed by Ralph Zonag, I don't know, sorry, and Eric Layton. As they say, all good movies are directed by 2 people. But before we hear everybody's... Dude, the only good movie with 2 directors that I can think of is Holy Grail, and that's all.
Oh, come on, dude. No Country for Old Men?
Okay, but they count as one because they always
Sure.
work together. Oh, but before we hear what we have to say about this beautiful film,
Cool.
Bad Reviews. Let's hear what LI-17 has to say about it. They wrote a beautiful, scathing, very long review which they titled Disney's Worst Theatrical Release Since Tarzan, giving it a 1 out of 10, which they actually promptly changed at the beginning of their review because they wrote out star 1.5 out of like 4 stars. So I don't know if it's
Wow.
like a half out of fuck or something. I don't know their rating system here, but we'll call it 1 out of 10.
That's eclectic.
Yeah, this is a doozy. It's a lot. When I watch a computer animated movie called Dinosaur, the only thing I expect out of it is 80 minutes worth of entertainment. So why is this one of the most intermittently dull Disney releases I've ever seen? For the most part, the film plods at a snail's pace with little but the first-rate dinosaur animation to keep things afloat. In case you haven't noticed, the plot closely resembles A Land Before Time. So much so, I wonder what Don Bluth would think of this if he ever saw this movie, or maybe he already has. There's one crucial element that separates Dinosaur and The Land Before Time, and that's the fact that The Land Before Time was at least kind of fun. It gave us genuine dilemma, a few slightly memorable characters, and a terrific score from James Horner. The voicing is subpar, and even worse, the characters are completely lifeless. Disney's animated offerings usually give us at least 1 or 2 memorable characters per film. This one has a grand total of zilch. Only this movie and Tarzan can lay claim to this dubious statement. Probably the worst decision of the filmmakers was to set the majority of the movie in a desert wasteland. Here are all these great, expensive CGI visuals, and they end up getting dumped through a drab, unimaginative setting that does little to spark or fuel the imagination. There's no sense of wonder, no awe, no excitement, and most importantly, no fun. For great escapist entertainment, stick with Jurassic Park. Whew.
What's Jurassic Park?
Yeah, I don't know. I hear good things though.
I know what Cretaceous Park is.
I gotta
Yeah.
find who this person lives and hunt them down for insulting Tarzan. Like,
I know. We're both big Tarzan fans. Brian here hates it more than Adolf.
Yeah,
But
not a. Oh, that's awful.
He
That's
said before we
awful.
started recording that he'd rather sympathize with Nazis than watch Tarzan.
Oh my god, that is so awful.
That is a lie. Do
not
not hunt
untrue.
Brian down. Oh, never mind. I stand corrected. Leave it in the episode.
Dude, that is hilarious. No, I'm not a fan of Tarzan. But I will say both Tarzan and Dinosaur I had not seen in a very, 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 very long time. And I just rewatched Dinosaur like 2 nights ago. And yeah, it's not as good as I remember. I was like stoked. And I was like telling my girlfriend, I'm like, what? You haven't seen this movie? What? You know how I do, you guys. What?
Yeah.
You haven't seen this movie? What are you, fucking crazy? And we put it on, and like the first 25 minutes, 30 minutes is like amazing. In my opinion, I think the beginning, the act 1 is like fantastic. And I was like, oh shit. Yes, this movie is like holding up to what I remember.
Mhm.
And then it just kind of like does a belly flop off of a 100-foot cliff. And
Absolutely.
it becomes like really slow and really kind of silly. And it kind of reminded me of Ants or Bug's Life, whatever, whichever one.
Ants
With
is
like
the bad one.
the mean guy. The mean guy. I'm the, what's his name? Crone. I don't know how recently you
Yeah.
guys watched it, but Crone,
Yeah,
it's like, I'm the
Crone.
mean guy who, like, I don't really have anything to do except for, like, boss people around and, like, always look straight at the camera so you can never see the definition of my face and, like, whether I'm fit or fat or, like, pretty or ugly. Like, you're just looking straight at my face and I just look weird all the time and I'm yelling at you. And, like, that's his character, and, like, that's most of the movie is him just, like, kind of, like, yelling at people, and then our main character just going, like, come on, guys.
Yeah. Teamwork. Don't
Teamwork.
forget about friendship, guys.
Yeah. So I can't really say that I hate Tarzan. I haven't seen it in so long, but I'm confident if I watch Tarzan tomorrow, I'd probably feel the same way and go like, that was okay.
Well, I think you should rewatch it, so you know for a fact, because I fucking love Tarzan. I'll watch the shit out of Tarzan, dude, and I'll love every goddamn minute of it. For those of you who haven't seen Dinosaur, which, like, it's okay. Usually we would recommend that you watch them before. This one, I guess you could probably skip.
Yeah.
But watch it. I mean, go for it. So spoilers here on out. It's the story of Aladar, an iguanodon who is raised by lemurs. During the because why not? During the eventual extinction of his kind, when meteors strike, turning their lush green world into a desert. And they gotta go find the nesting ground, which is an oasis of water and vegetation. Um, and I could not agree more with Brian's review off the top. It starts out great. The first act gets you hyped. I remember
Yeah.
this movie being terrible, and so I was kind of on the opposite end. I was like, "Oh, this will be a fun movie to shit on along with Dinotopia," but it has none of the charm of Dinotopia, and so like through the first act, I was like, "Oh, this is tight. Like, why does this animation look good? Except for the dinosaurs are kind of shitty, but like the landscapes look amazing.
Mm-hmm.
This is tight." And then the landscapes disappear. You're like, "Oh yeah, this movie is terrible." But it still wasn't as bad as I remember. I gave it a 5 out of 10 or 4 out of 10. I gave it a 4 out of 10, not a 5. It doesn't deserve a 5. I gave it a 4 out of 10. That's where I'm sitting at it. We'll get more. But off the top, you already kind of gave us your review. But would you score it, Brian?
Yeah. So, before we started the podcast, I had it at a 6 out of 10, but since we're doing negatives as well, I think that score has to go down to like a 3 out of 10. Cause like there's, again, not to, beat a dead Aladar, but like the first 30 minutes, is like really good. Like
Yeah.
the whole idea of his egg like being subjected to the wildness of nature and like carnotaur attacks, and so the egg gets all of his brothers and sisters get smushed, and then he gets picked up by some creepy little fucking raptor thing, and then they fight over it and it drops in the river, and then it gets picked up by a pterodactyl and then brought to the lemurs, and like all of that is so cool, and the music is great, like Tarzan vibes. A lot of drums, a lot of percussion.
Well, let's not get carried away here.
No, come on. a lot of percussion, and like really exciting.
Similar in style for sure.
Yeah, just the music. Yeah, not quality, no, but just the music. And And so I thought all that was super cool, and the tree is great, and even the whole mating ceremony is like really interesting to watch, but also watching it again as a almost 25-year-old, I was watching it like, okay, this is like a little strange for like a 6-year-old to be watching, because what's his face, who you don't even remember his name, is making hell inappropriate jokes. But like first, and that when the meteors hit, like, I don't know, I'm sure you watched it alone. Even if you're sitting alone, I can imagine you're sitting in a theater and people are kind of whatever excited. But when the meteors start falling, there's like, even within yourself, there's this like palpable like tension and silence, and you're watching these meteors fall, and the movie makes such an point of like the mesmerizing and the extraordinary idea of these things falling from the sky, and you're like, wow, this is beautiful, and then that big ass one comes down, and you're just kind of like, you kind of lose your breath for a minute, and you just go, oh my god, and I jokingly said to my girlfriend, like, hey, I said, this is based on a true story. Like, and she goes, what are you talking about? I go, well, dinosaurs used to roam the earth, and then a giant ass meteor crashed down. So like, this is pretty harrowing, but like it is, it's intense and it's scary. And then all of a sudden, the film becomes like like you're tied by your ankles to the back of a tractor driving through a muddy field of like rotten wheat, and you're just kind of sitting there going, what the fuck is going on? Like, this is really boring and really strange and not much is happening. So I'm gonna give it 3 out of 10, and the only redeeming factor is like the visuals, which White Jared, you said like, why did they look so good? And I don't know if you noticed, but it's a mixture of real photography and CGI, which I did not know. When I was little, I didn't give a shit and I didn't care. But watching it again, watching it again, I went, wow, that's really impressive. Like, especially during the meteor shower, there's a lot of scenes of like a real forest that they're lighting up with a bunch of, big lights they brought to set and a lot of pyrotechnics. And then they're having CGI dinosaurs run through and matching the lighting. So it looks really good. And a lot of the water effects are real. Like, even when she presses down and gets water out of the mud, like that's real water. It's real photography with just like a fake foot on it. So for that, I have to give it some credit. The voice acting's okay.
But that's it. I hated the voice acting. We'll get into that though.
Okay, for sure.
Jared, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you guys. I think when the lighting is like a more I don't know how to say it, like unnatural source, like when the light source is like or when the light source is more direct, like it's not when it's overcast or when it's high noon, the lighting looks the textures on the dinosaurs looks really bad and really awful. But like you said with the fire or when it's raining, they look really really good, and you can see like especially on the Carnotaurs, you can see the reflection on the scale off the scales and stuff. So I really like that stuff. I agree about the opening sequence, and I like that it kind of goes full circle at the very very end, with a safe hatching of Aladar's kid. The music by James Newton Howard, I want to shout out him. It's really really good, especially in the opening sequence. And yeah, I agree about the meteorite thing. Like
Tarzan.
It fills you with a lot of dread, and I love the way they have the animals looking at it like it's beautiful at first, but the audience knows what's going on. The audience knows like, oh shit, they're about to die, and then they actually do have like the entire family wiped out, which I really liked. Where I checked out was around the same part that you guys did. Like who's the lady dinosaur? The lady iguanodon?
Oh God, what was her? Delilah or something silly? Darla, Dina. It's a D. I just watched it.
Keep talking. I wrote it down somewhere.
Wait, I got it. Hold on.
Nira. Yeah, okay.
Nira.
When she appears and they try to make her a hot dinosaur, that's when I...
And she looks just like Aladar.
That's when I tuned back in, baby.
Yeah, like he's a Nathan Fillion type like hunk who's like wisecracking and adventurous and swashbuckling.
Oh, that's great.
But he's a dinosaur. Like, don't try to make them attractive.
Well, she even says, the mom lemur, she even says, oh, if only there was someone here for you. And then she goes like, well, maybe one day we can find you another one of your kind, but pretty.
Yeah.
And boy, did they.
Yeah.
Super uncomfortable.
With the possessive brother.
Yeah, it was very unsettling for me. And then the story gets really slow, and I do like the Brachiosaurus character.
Yeah.
Like as an old lady who eventually steps up to fight or to
steps down
to help him survive. It's real bad.
It's pretty fucking bad.
I'll give it a 4.8. I think it's at the time it was a huge technological achievement, and I still hold a lot of fondness in my heart for it. I remember seeing it in the theaters. I had to use the restroom in the middle of it, so I missed a bunch. But then
wow, how much did you miss?
Good tired. All the mating sequences.
It was when they were in the cave. I think I missed the lieutenant guy dying.
Yeah. Oh right.
I was super into this movie. I even had like these like rubber hand puppets of the Carnotaurs.
Bro! Oh my god, dude. You just sparked a whole lifetime of memories. Oh my god, so did I.
And like And like I'm tempted to like just keep bumping up the score because those were some great memories. Because like I remember making up my own stories about dinosaurs with those toys, and that's such a huge gift. I think I even I had one of the Carnotaurs, one Iguanodon, and I think I had two Carnotaurs and one Iguanodon, and then I also like had this on VHS like on loop. Because I felt kind of bad that my dad missed out on the movie because of me using the restroom. So like we would always watch it in the family, and it like, of course, on VHS it looks a lot better than it does on HDTV. Like because everything looks all old special effects look better on VHS. But yeah, I this movie used to hold a really special place in my heart, so I'm not gonna give it a 0 or anything, even though it is not a very good movie. And a little deeper.
Well, I just want to say I had no idea. I completely forgot that I owned the hand puppets, but I did. I absolutely did. The before it even finished coming out of your mouth, I remembered like 20 different memories from my childhood. And I'll agree with you. I had this movie on loop, and I've seen it a million times. And, you know, mostly what you remember is the opening with the egg and the cool-ass tree and the scary Carnotaurs and then, like, the oasis at the end. And so all the in-between is kind of BS. But those parts are really fun and interesting. And I'm so glad that you said that. That's just brought up amazing memories for sure. For sure.
Oh, one thing that really stuck out to me, which I think has been a topic in all of our reviews, and I'm sure this will even bleed into Dinotopia when we talk about this, but this movie's horny as hell. It's way hornier than I remembered.
Yes, I was gonna mention that.
Fuck, dude.
Yeah. I was gonna say that too.
Why is that such a big part of this movie? Like, I know it's like they frame it as like, he's in a different world because he was raised by lemurs, and the man just wants to find love. But everybody's just trying to smash the entire the entire movie. The monkeys especially. I think the real horny monkey whose name nobody would ever know.
Nobody knows. Golden monkey.
He's a bit zoomy. He's
a bit
zimmy. He's a bit much. I wrote down a couple of his lines like, I always did like big girls. When the Brachiosaurus breaks the water.
It's awful.
Yeah. It's just full of lines like that from this little fucker. He's supposed to be some comic relief, but it's kind of just creepy. And I feel like that.
What does he go? Wait, he goes, what do you ladies want to play? Monkey in the middle? Right at the end? Oh my god.
Harem of women.
Yes. So stupid.
But I feel like that kind of sums up the whole middle of the movie is like this failed attempt at whimsy and this failed attempt to like capture something interesting. And I think a part of that is due to like the animation. We praised it a lot. All of my praise comes in like the landscapes and the scenes that really play with that. But the dinosaurs somehow look like some uncanny valley type shit. Like, I don't know how that's possible with dinosaurs, but they managed.
Right.
I hate how they look. I kind of forgive it because it's old.
I think it's because of the eyes.
Yeah,
the
probably.
Ass? Is that what you said? The ass?
Are you looking at dinosaur asses?
I don't know. Aladar is, so, you know, he's my point of view. He's what I watch. He's my lens through the.
And Zimmy likes him thick. We know that. So, but yeah, I think the dinosaur animation really just brings me out of every single scene for most of this film. And it's so hard to look past. I forgive it a bit because like 2000 CGI is never really gonna look good. except like the Matrix. And even then, but
Right.
like,
Right.
yeah. So, but like, especially here, I think it takes me out a lot. I do think it's beautiful in the beginning, though. Maybe it's because it was such an expensive process, is why they really made it a big point. And it's like it's the plot that the land is barren. But maybe I think finances maybe has something to do with it. I don't know. Because the difference between the first and last scenes and the whole middle like 2 hours is night and day.
Well, I'll say the best looking piece of CGI in the film is the cheeks on his face when he
The ass?
makes the noise, when he goes and his cheeks kind of like shake around, and it's like, oh, that looks pretty good. Like if it was like a shitty CGI, he would just like open his mouth and some roar would come out, but his cheeks actually kind of like bounce around and wave around, and like that looks cool. But like, you're right, besides that, it's not great.
No. We're already going on like an hour, so and we're gonna talk way more about the next two movies, so I'm gonna speed this along. Favorite scenes. Jared, we haven't heard from you too much on Dinosaur. What were some of your favorite scenes?
Well, I mean, we kind of already talked about them. The building, not necessarily the crashing of the meteorite, but the build to it is, I think, my favorite scene in the thing. Like a lot of the character moments are just really flat. Like there's a lot of common tropes in the story and in the script that feel familiar, but they don't feel real. So I didn't really highlight a lot of moments of dialogue. The dino fights weren't like, they were, some of them were bad, some of them were okay. The last one I didn't like very much, but
Yeah.
I like the sequence in the cave, because you can't really see it very well.
Imagination is key, bro.
Like I said, when the really smooth face of Aladar and Mira is like really gross to me, but I love the really textured faces of the Carnivores.
Yeah.
And I love the way the rain reflect, like the wet scales, like the way they reflect the moonlight. It looks so cool. But yeah, like there's not a whole lot of stuff I could talk about as far as favorite scene. It's
I agree with you.
Yeah, I'm on board there too. I did like your comment on the meteor, where you said it was based off a true story, because that was also a part of the movie ripe for bits with me. I wrote down Aladar's a bit too excited about meteors. This motherfucker needs to read a book. Because at first he's like, "Oh, this is tight."
Well, dude, I'll just right before we move on to Dinotopia, that's something that's a little jarring about the film. The first actual like 10 minutes, nobody says anything in English, and it's all just like animal
it's all
grunts
Portuguese.
and groans and roars, and they're all just like for like 10 minutes straight, and then all of a sudden she's like, beep, 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 beep. Hey, look, it's a baby in like perfect ADR. You know what I mean? And it's like super jarring.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah, and like it took me aback a little bit, and even my girlfriend was like, whoa, what just happened? And so you see later in the movie, Aladar will say something like, everybody needs to get out of here. And then in like this deep bellowing dinosaur, he goes, everybody needs to go. And it's like super jarring to just go back and forth between like speaking fucking English from DB Sweeney, whoever that guy is, and then like bellowing and dinosaur sound effects. It's so strange.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I agree with Jared that the characters feel flat and their dialogue feels flat, and that's what I have under my cons. Is the pacing throughout's awful, and to agree with you, Jared L., there's a lot of like weird horny sexist stuff going on. And then there's just really generic character development. So that's a wrap.
Yeah. I think I will give a shout out though. I think the only piece of good voice acting in this entire film is actually Pleo, the mama lemur, played by Alfra Woodard. She does great. She like held it together once people started talking.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. The dinosaurs going between the like roars and talking. I was like, this is a lot. I think even at one point, like one of them says to another dinosaur, like, "You speak?" And I'm like, "You all fucking speak. Why are you surprised?"
Right. Yeah, she's like a grandma, all timid and
yeah.
slow, and then all of a sudden she's the loudest fucking brachiosaurus you've ever seen in your life, like stomping into the earth to make water erupt out of nothing. And then she's going, "Oh, I'm just a grandma."
Yeah. But that's all I got on Dinosaur, unless you guys got anything else to chime in. I think it's worth moving on.
Yeah.
All right.
Shout out Hayden Panettiere, who's also in this movie.
What? Who is she?
She's the young girl lemur.
Oh.
What young girl lemur?
A rising star.
She's barely in it. Yeah, she's the granddaughter. So
this is really where she got her break.
She's good in other things.
You know, this is very much like you, Jared. Very much like you, brother.
Yeah.
To find the most obscure person in the most obscure role. I love it. I love you for it.
I was looking through the cast and like I recognized some of the names, but that was the name that immediately stuck out to me because like, yeah, I can't say anything about her performance in here because she barely has anything to do. She's good in Scream 4, so watch Scream 4.
Yes. Yeah. Oh. Before we get into Dinotopia, though.
Cool. Bad reviews.
Daytona Bob, dear friend of the show, has something to say. And this installment of Jared reads bad reviews of movies that we're watching because it makes him laugh and stuff. This one's a long one. You thought the last one was too long. This one's even longer. But it's more entertaining. I think this one's a better one. They titled this novel Crapatopia, which I thought was just the height of comedy, giving it a 1 out of 10. And a staunch spoiler warning off the top here. Well, I just rewatched the series. What can I say? I was really hoping that possibly, just possibly, the second watching might make me think or see things differently. Nope. What presented here is a fascist society, a sort of benevolent, if that's possible, dictatorship. I kept praying that someone would wipe that smile off the bitch who ran things. Talk about annoying. This is the sort of society. This is the sort of society that makes you happy for the discontent in ours. There is no choice in what you do. Ever watch Futurama and the job chip in the hand thing? Same thing here. One has no choice in their lives. Sorry, sounds more like hell. The acting is so-so. The flight instructor was over the top. He was horrible. And this bit of risking your life to get your flying monster, oh, please. And he, just a note, he did spell that Puhleeze.
Of course he did.
Yeah. It's amazing how some things just don't translate very well visualizing it versus how you read it. No theater, no fiction, no amusement parks, no nothing. Just follow the dear leader's way of doing things. No writings or ability to think for oneself. No looking for those who are creative, think for themselves, the dreamers, those who want to make things better. Just sheep. The writing made me gag. Who came up with this sort of dialogue? Did they go to Did they go to a UCLA film school and choose the worst hack writers? This entire show just made me ill. And another thing. What's up with the professional writers always coming here and promoting junk? Do you know anyone who writes like these guys? They're easy to spot. Very easy. This show is just proof that hack writers own Hollywood. Crapatopia indeed.
Oh my god.
Oh, yes.
That guy's.
And I trimmed that.
Oh my god, the guy's got a whole bag of chips on his shoulders, huh?
Yeah.
Holy
Jesus
shit.
Christ.
Holy shit, that was great.
The specificity of his rage.
Yeah.
Pure gold.
Could someone slap the smile off that bitch who ran things?
Who's he talking about? Is he talking about the matron mother?
Yeah, like I think the girl that they both want to fuck.
Oh, Marion.
If I had
Marion.
to guess.
Marion.
Yeah.
Yeah. She doesn't run things. Oh, that's hilarious.
She doesn't even
dude.
really smile that much.
She doesn't.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, that's a top tier review from this segment.
Yeah.
I'm very happy with it.
Well, so who wants to explain what Dinotopia is?
Hey, you're the professional here. Why don't you
Alright,
run us
fuck
through
it.
this 5-hour plot that you made us?
All right, we'll make it quick. Dinotopia is the plot of ridiculousness in a nutshell. No, it is the plot of David and Carl Scott, whose names are assigned to the wrong person in societal norms. Carl should be David and David should be Carl, but we'll get to that later. David and Carl Scott are flying an airplane, I guess, for fun with their both. It's their father because they're stepbrothers, and they're both estranged from their father. So it's a weird sort of family outing, where they don't really like each other, and neither of them are very close with their father. And then they crash the plane, and they wash ashore. Father dies. And they wash ashore onto a strange new land where they discover dinosaurs and humans live in accord and work together to form like a normal society. When the land's energy source, known as the Sunstone, starts to fade and waver, the boys plus their new friend Marion, who is the daughter of the patriarch and later discovered the matriarch, the three of them with their trusty buddy Zippo, the dinosaur, go on an adventure.
Are you still following this audience?
They go on an adventure to find the lost underworld city fabled to contain 1 million sunstones, but are thwarted at every turn by the evil Cyrus Crab.
Yeah.
There you go. There it is.
Oh.
And we had a fantastic time watching this together.
We did.
I think one of the best nights of my entire life. I will remember
Same,
honestly
honestly.
forever. And I'll also make it brief. I watched this when I was a child, and 15 years later, I'm in college, and I thought I had hallucinated this whole show, this whole movie. And I found it, and I downloaded it, and I watched it, and then I watched it a second time, and I went, wow, this is amazing. I don't think anyone's ever seen this. And I asked everyone I knew, and not a single person in my entire life had ever seen this made-for-TV film, except for a guest you guys had on a few weeks ago, Wyatt Ehrman, who's the only person I had ever met who'd seen this movie. So me and Wyatt decided to host a party at his apartment, and we all watched it together. And I remember too, the best part about the whole thing is we went in with the intentions of only watching the first episode.
Yeah.
And once it ended, we kind of all went, oh, well, we got to watch the second one. And then when it ended, we went, well, fuck it, dude. We got to watch the third one. And it ended up being like the most exciting night of cinematic entertainment and connection ever. It was fantastic.
God. Yeah, we were all like stoned and drunk for like 4 hours straight watching this nightmare happen. Oh God. It was beautiful. It was delightful.
It was, beautiful is the right word for sure.
Off the top though, as the connoisseur of Dinotopia, what would you rate it?
Well, okay, there's like even more so than Dinosaur, like there's a heavy holy shit, you guys. Wait a second. Joe Barnett is calling me right now.
Oh fuck. Answer
Wait a
it.
second.
Put it on speaker.
I gotta
Put him on the
answer.
episode. Put it
You
on
guys,
speaker and hold it to your
Joe. Joe, can you hear me?
Hey Brian, yeah, I can hear you.
Dude, I am in the middle of a podcast with White Jared and Brown Jared, and we are talking about watching Dinotopia at your fucking house, dude.
What?
Yes.
Oh my god, that is a weird coincidence.
And super synchronistic. Can you
Joe?
hear these guys? Say hi, guys.
Hey.
Oh yeah, I can hear it.
Oh my god. That is amazingly synchronistic, bro.
Yeah.
I can't believe that happened. I don't want to take you away from that though, so if you want to keep going, go for it.
For sure, dude. Yeah.
Before he goes, have him rate it.
Okay, yeah. Before you go, dude, you just made yourself a guest on the show. Can you give us a little synopsis and a rating, a little rating and review of Dinotopia?
Well, from what I remember, it was a wild ride and hugely nostalgic for movies of the past, which made it fun. And I would rate it in terms of like quality is not really there in terms of how it looks, but it would mix up with how fun and exciting where the story goes. So I would rate it probably 7 out of 10.
Ooh.
Damn.
There you go.
It's a high ass score, dude.
For sure.
Thank you,
Well, he's
Joe.
going, guys, he's going out of 10. Joe, I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that, but it was very fortuitous and synchronistic that you called at this moment. Like, unbelievably. Are you going to be up late tonight? Can I call you afterwards?
Yeah, if you're up, that'd be great.
Okay, dude, for sure. I'll call you when we're done.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, dude. Okay, see you. Bye.
Stay tuned for an episode with Joe. We're trying to get him on. So if you enjoyed that review, he'll be on soon.
That was amazing.
That's
the best
guys.
moment of the Jaredcast right there.
Oh.
Yeah.
You guys, I cannot believe that. So for all viewers who are wondering what just happened, I said me and Wyatt set up the viewing. Wyatt's roommate is Joe. Joe and Wyatt are roommates, and we all watch it at their house. And then he just called in the middle of it. Wow. So I was saying, holy shit, that was super weird. So I was saying in a scale of 1 to 10, I give it an 8 out of 10. So a little higher than Joe, and that's purely because of nostalgia and like when I watched it, it just made my heart flutter, dude. It was like, wow, this is amazing, and I felt really unique because no one had ever seen it before, and I was really stoned in college the whole time. So going out of -10 to +10, I'll probably give it like a 7 for real. Yeah, pretty high because like Joe's right, like the animation's not great. The cinematography's not like super good, but I think it's so well made. I think almost everything about it is fantastic besides the editing, which we can get into later. So like 7 out of 10.
All right.
Wow.
Dope. Yeah. I had similar thoughts on it. I didn't grow up with this movie. I'd never seen it until I was at Joe's house. But it's a fun ride. It made me nostalgic for some shit I didn't even grow up on, which is rare. Big fan of Prison Break, so it's always a treat seeing that tasty mug show up.
That's great. He's so great too.
But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. This is actually our first movie, I think, that is involved in our negative half of the scale for the audience. We technically do a scale -10 to 10. 0 being like the worst score. 0 to 10 is normal, but 0 to -10 is like so bad it's good range. So like some people put like The Room as like a -10, what have you. I put Dinotopia at a -8. I love it. It's so bad, it's so good, which translates essentially to an 8 out of enjoyment. I love it. I think it's a fun time. It's
Nice.
long as hell and it's cringy as fuck. But you're gonna like the way you watch it. I guarantee it.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Jared, this might be our first like. Or do we have an identical score already?
Yeah, we have a few times, I think.
Okay, never mind then. But yeah, I also gave it like overall a -8. I will say that I love, like legitimately love episode 2.
Yes.
So I would like, it's weird. So I wrote 2 scores. I wrote -8 or 7.1. So that's how I did it. My experience with the movie, like I was one of the people that Brian went up to with these weird images. He didn't show me any images. He would just describe production design and dinosaurs and scenes. And I was like, what the hell is going on right now? And then he came up to me like months later and he was like, dude, Wyatt saw it. And I was like, okay, so he's not crazy. And so I had not seen this as a little kid, but I do remember the training. Like I'd seen the training somewhere, the flight training. So I do have a vague mental image of Wentworth Miller on the air saddle, failing and falling. But that's all I remember of this movie. If I did see it, it's completely blocked out of there except for that particular sequence. And I was not there at the watch party. So this was my first time going through the entire Dinotopia. And boy, what an experience, man. This was something else. I was watching this like while my whole family was like into like the final 8 of March Madness, and like they were being loud and like, so I had to move to another room.
Like, shut up, I'm trying to watch dinosaurs.
I'm trying to breathe deep and fly high.
Breathe deep, seek peace, and shut the fuck up.
How dare you interrupt my journey with Zippo? Oh man. But overall, yeah, I really like the story. I always dig when there's a fantasy that like starts with a prophecy, like that's really vague, but then they cut to something that's totally unrelated, and then it connects later on.
Yes.
Yes. I think the whole thing falls apart without Zippo. He's super funny and charming.
The whole thing falls apart if you like poke it with a stick. It's that fragile.
You just sneeze at it.
Yeah.
The characters are not my besides Zippo, I don't really like a lot of the characters. Carl's a huge dude.
Yes, he is.
Cunhole.
And then at first I'm like, okay, I relate to David. You know, he's a nerd. He's kind of bookish, whatever. But then he turns out to be a dick too, and I'm like, come on, dude. Like, and then freaking Marion, like being the homie hopper, telling she loves him.
Yeah.
Telling both of them, like, I love you. Like, come on, dude. And then there's even a line. He's like, did you hear that? She said she loves us both. She was looking at me when she.
Oh my god! Right, that's episode 2, right? Yeah. That's so good.
And that's not even the weirdest like sex thing about this movie. Like they literally have interspecies relationships.
Saurian life partner, my friend.
Okay, then explain the hieroglyphic of the half man, half dinosaur to me.
Oh, we can explain it. Trust me, I've seen it 1,000 times.
I would say also a major positive for this movie is the birth of 26. I think it's such a magical, such a charming scene when you see the dinosaur hatching out. And like, of course, Carl's a douchebag and he ruins the scene. But just seeing seeing the Triceratops come out of the thing was like, oh, it was so cool. Yeah. So I gave it -8/7.1.
Shit. So I guess I should put a possible negative on my 7.
If you want.
Well, because
genuinely.
Yeah, but it's like I agree, but it's like I agree with you guys because like it's not.
You muted yourself.
I did. Wow, I got too excited. It's like I agree with you guys though. Like it's not like The Dark Knight or something. It's not like a movie you sit and go, "Wow, holy shit, this is so well made." But it's a movie you sit and you go like, "This is really shitty, but it's still super good." Like like there you don't sit at it and you don't get like that annoyed with it. Like sure you might get annoyed with a character or a decision, but that's part of good storytelling. And you sit there and you're still like excited and you're curious and like you want to know what's going to happen next. And like yeah, I've got in my notes, I've got 26 as like one of my major bullet points of like 26 is awesome and she's barely in it. But I think because you say Carl and David are really annoying, which they so totally completely are, and I completely agree. But that's what's one of the most magical things about Dinotopia is like the actual like unabashed character arc, the so clearly obvious character arcs of like David being like the super snooty know-it-all nerdy boy goody two-shoes, like, oh yeah, I know our father just died and we're in a totally random parallel universe, but guess what, dude, I gotta study for a final, like, you know what I mean? And I'm gonna fucking ace it. And like he's great in that regard. And then same with Carl, he's like, dude, fuck you. I'm trying to find my dad and I don't give a shit about nobody type of deal. Like, let's go skinny dipping, Marion, like in the middle of the night, which is like super like out there. I was super surprised about that. And like their character arcs though, by the end of it, which, you know, for anyone who hasn't seen the film, you know, they drop land into Dinotopia and they're forced into like what was that review you just read in the beginning? Daytona?
The fascist society.
Yes, exactly. And it is. And like, that is really funny because they're kind of forced into this lifestyle where they have to adhere to the ways of Dinotopia. And not necessarily Dinotopia as a whole, but this one city, Waterfall City, which is totally ridiculous and absurd in their fashion style is
Naboo.
Yeah, it's basically Naboo. Exactly, bro. It's Naboo from Star Wars, and it's the same fashion. Did you realize that too? They wear the same clothes.
It's identical.
Yeah, and so they're forced into this kind of weird set of laws, and then, you know, within that system, they decide to help the whole of Dinotopia. And Carl, which in I think all of our favorite episode 2, they're given an assignment of what they should do to help the better of society, and Carl is assigned to the hatchery where he has to take care of a newborn whatever. It's a Triceratops. Let's not kid around. They call it something else, but who cares? He has to deal with a newborn Triceratops, which basically softens his douchebaggery a little bit because he now has to be like a pseudo father. And then David has to kind of, you know, man up in a sense and like face his fears and ride a Skybax, which is honestly one of the most exciting things ever, in my opinion. And like, he really has to earn that shit. Like, he doesn't just do it once and then he can ride a Skybax. Like, he does it once and then he fails, and then he does it twice and then he fails, and then he does it like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times, and he just still fails. And then he finally gets to ride the Skybax. So by the 3rd episode, the finale, they've kind of come into their characters a bit more. And it's so exciting. And so, like, I think that's one of the strongest things about Dinotopia, even though it's silly. And, like, David can be, like, a total whiner baby. And, you know, Carl can be total douchebag. Like, they do come into, like, a greater sense of themselves by the end of it, which is so exciting. Especially when they face Professor Lupin. And, like, it's great. It's great. I love it. I love it so much.
Speaking of Professor Lupin, um, he's so obviously bad from the beginning. Like, there's even a line in like the first like few scenes when they get on Dinotopia, where he's like, "Oh, I've never met somebody. You're the first archaeologist I've met who uses dynamite." And like from then on, you're like, "Yeah, this motherfucker's evil. Like, it's obvious. He's the only British man on this island."
And he
He's
goes,
like-
he goes, my favorite line, he goes, it's okay, Carl. You can trust me, Carl. You can trust me, Carl.
Oh, yeah, dude.
He's the only character with bad teeth.
Yes. and a peg leg.
Yeah, like it's so obvious he's evil. He's like getting motherfuckers to steal from the library when you can just
Right.
check out books. You don't even have to steal it. You can just read it. It's a library. Oh god, it's
Well, but that
It's a
plays into
mess.
the themes of fascism when he flips his leg up onto the table and he goes, see, one of them scalies took my leg. That's what happens. That's what happens when they don't agree with you. That's scaly persecution. And so it's like it does have like interesting thoughts, and like even like it's weird because they even make a point. The only thing they really talk about, because like Dinotopia is cut off from the real world, they go, oh, who won the war? Like the Germans or the Americans? You know what I mean? It's like they bring up like fascism and Nazism and like
That's true.
American prowess, and then he flips his fucking peg leg up onto the table and goes, that's scaly persecution.
What's up with the racial slur scaly for these dinosaurs? Like Zippo's all like
Right.
super offended.
Scalies.
Scaly.
Scalies.
Yeah. You mentioned them abiding by rules. I wrote down the code of Dinotopia.
Oh
if you
no,
would like
all
to-
10?
all
All
10, baby.
Wait, but you have to leave out number 10 until we're done with the
Oh.
review, of course.
Oh, I've got it. I've got it cut off.
Okay, good.
Number 1, survival of all or none. Convenient that they rhymed. I liked it. Number
One
2,
raindrop raises the sea.
Yo.
I got you, bro. I know it all.
What's the next one? What's the next one?
I don't know.
Weapons are enemies, even to their owners.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Give more, take less. Others first, self last, which is kind of just the same.
Yeah.
Observe, listen, and learn. Do one thing at a time. This
Those
is
are
my
suggestions.
favorite. This is my favorite. Sing every day.
Nobody sings in the whole 4 hours. It's a fucking 4-hour movie and nobody sings shit. Are you kidding me?
You know they wanted 10 and they're like, fuck, we got 9. We can't put it at the end because we gotta do this whole dramatic thing. Oh god. Sing every day.
What's
Fuck it,
another
put it
one?
in the middle.
Wear slippers in the evening.
The next one isn't much better. Exercise imagination.
Oh no.
Number 9 is eat to live, don't live to eat.
That's
and
a
number
good
10 is don't put.
Wait. Number 10 is not that.
Yeah, it's like cut off.
No,
It, like,
number 10 is fi. It's just
Really?
FI. It's just FI until they find the rest of it, right?
Oh, on the Wikipedia it says don't pee, and then it remarks that just the letter, but then it remarks that Nalab, the little jokester, says don't pee in the bath is what the last one is.
Oh, that's
But
ridiculous.
maybe that's more on the novel than the book, or than the movie. But yeah, sing every day is is beautiful. That's easily number 1 there.
That's great.
Dude, if you ever get into like a discussion about gun control, just yell at the person. Rule number 3 of Dinotopia: enemies even to the owner.
Dude, we're gonna cause world peace with these rules.
Bro, that is hilarious. Jared, BJ, let's hear your thoughts.
About what?
The whole thing. The whole thing.
The whole.
Just go off.
So I
Go off, King.
I didn't. I just wrote I just bulleted the whole movie instead of like actually coming up with a comprehensive like note thing.
Same.
But like, yeah, I can get into a few things that I love about it. Let's see, where do I go? I love probably the biggest laugh I had in the movie was when, so like near the end of episode 1, Carl cheats on his exam.
Yep, I knew what you said. My favorite part of the
Yes.
movie. I was like, is he going?
Yes.
quoting a certain song, and like it's not even that good of a gag, but the just the hatred and the frustration of David's eyes when he realizes his eyes, his brow is so furrowed and such a deep frown, and his eyes are wide. He's like, those were the lyrics to Bohemian Rhapsody.
Everybody knows this song.
So yeah, that's probably my thing that I love about it.
And Zippo like adores it. I love how he references the real life in conjunction with a dream.
Dude, Zippo's
It's
such a
so
ray of
poetic.
positivity. I fucking love Zippo. He's too good for this world.
I agree. Teaching him to, like, when they teach Zippo to play ping pong, I thought that was
Yes.
amazing.
That scene has my favorite line in the whole one, where back to the sexual tension, Carl goes, I just creamed you. And Zippo looks this man in the eye, giggles, and says, oh, I don't mind.
Or later on when they play ping pong the second time and he goes, I want to smash. I want to smash. Did I smash?
What else? I already said that I like 26's birth was like my favorite in probably the whole movie. I thought it was cool that like a kid actually gets eaten and like towards the end, like
Yes. Oh my God, you're so right, dude. He does. I forget about it every time I watch it. I go, holy shit, that kid just got fucking eaten.
Yeah,
every
yeah,
time.
it's great. I hate the courtroom drama. It made no sense at all. But I do. I want to ask you guys because, like, I think it actually, like Brian touched on it a bit, but like about the character arcs of Carl and David. Because in episode 2, like, what does it like actually mean, like narratively, for Carl to connect to the land, and for B, David to connect to the sky? What does that mean for their characters?
Oh, dude. I got you already, bro. I got you already, dude. Well, okay, for me, when the movie starts, I mean, David has got his head in a fucking book. Like, he does not care. He does not, and again, the beginning of the film is they go in an airplane with their dad, right? David couldn't care less. He wants to be on the ground. He wants to be studying for his exams. He wants to be home. He hates flying, and he's got his head in a book. Like he's trying to be as grounded as possible. It's probably not like a fantasy book. It's probably like a logistics book. It's probably a research book. And Carl is like, I don't give a shit. Like, let's hop in the plane. Dad, let me fly. And so it speaks to their characters and the decisions that they make and how they make them. And David's super grounded. And as the show goes on, like I said, when they first arrive and like they get indoctrinated into fascist Dinotopia, like David's all for it. Like he's like, yeah, dude, give me a book. I'm going to study. Like this is what needs to be done. He's grounded. He sees things like almost too practically. This is what needs to be done to survive in this world. And Carl sees things a bit more lofty, and he sees like the bigger picture, and he goes, well, we got to save Dad. But like, both of them, it's a fallacy for both of them. They can't see the full picture by focusing on either the lowest point or the highest point. It's like Carl's focusing on the top of the stairs, and then David's focusing on just the first step. Whereas like both of them need to figure out like how to manage each step to get there. And so I think it's super important because Carl learns to kind of ground his expectations because he's trying to get off Dinotopia, and it's just not going to happen. No one's ever escaped. It's just not going to happen. And so he's trying to get off with a little rinky-dink ass boat. His visions and his ambitions are way too high, and David is way too complacent. And he's like, well, if we just sit here for a while, maybe 5, 10, 20, 30, 60 years, like we'll figure it out. And so I think the both of them interchanging those two ideals is perfect for them, because Carl learns to like slow down and appreciate that, like, even though it's awful, like, you did just stumble upon one of the most amazing things that could ever happen in your life. I get it. Yes, your dad died, and that is awful. And you're in a strange new land, and you're being indoctrinated into fascist Naboo on a Dinotopia land. But, like, you're there, and you're experiencing this amazing, amazing opportunity to, like, live in a totally parallel universe. And then David isn't appreciating, although all of that is true, they still are not at home. And their father has died, and they need to find a way out. So I think that's what that is. And episode 2, the Skyback's trainer is my favorite character of all time.
Yeah, that was very well said, and I thought it was worth bringing up for that because, like you said earlier, like the level of sincerity in Dinotopia saves this story completely. Like, you know, you could easily pick apart the dated special effects. You could easily pick apart the screenplay, the editing, but you can't deny that these people were actually really like on a TV budget. By the way, like nowadays, TV is the new, it's the new blockbuster, it's the new art house, it's the new everything. Even just 10 years ago or 20 years ago, TV was where stories went to die. But these people was where like Hollywood stories went to die. But like the people behind Dinotopia really believed in this story, and I think it definitely resonates, especially through the character arcs of David and Carl, and then just a couple other scenes that I liked. The roller coaster scene was pretty cool, kind of a throwback to the classic Jurassic Park ride, and then the weird dino trance that happens in the flight training.
Yes.
Super cool. I was like, okay.
No, are you talking about the grounding ceremony? That's right before the matriarch assigns all of them their roles, and she goes, she's like, we're gonna connect with the earth, and we're gonna connect with the dinosaurs, and they just start pounding the ground, and Carl's like, fuck this shit, I'm out of here, and he just like passes out. Yeah, I love that part. I love that. He's like, he can't escape the overwhelm, and that plays into what we were just talking about. It plays into that overwhelming sense of awe that Carl has not kind of appreciated yet, of like, dude, do you see where you are? Like, and so that moment really flips his switch of like, these dinosaurs are here, and they're present, and they're real, and like, this is amazing. And like, he kind of succumbs to it and just passes out.
Yeah, and I think it's weird you mentioned the sincerity, because like this is also don't forget, this is a Hallmark joint. Like which is the epitome of just tackiness. And it's rare that any have like some fresh passion in it. And I think that shows because like originally I know Jim Henson helped with the dinosaurs. Like he was part of that. Like the Jim Henson Company had stuff to do with the special effects. Lucasfilm was attached at first, which is why you see the Naboo connections. And so it's weird that like it had all these connections to big budget TV and film, because there was something there, but boy, is it also something else. But it does have that genuine charm to it that just makes it stand out.
Yeah, it's like it's such a large idea in a way, and then it's just stripped completely down to its bare bones. You know what I mean? It's like they're in the hands of someone like George Lucas, or even, if Hallmark was like they were these days, you could have a lot of scenes that kind of go nowhere, that kind of are, in the books, they're there to kind of expand on the world or expand on the characters, but kind of serve no real purpose. Whereas, like, it's so stripped back that every scene, as silly as it is, at least in the way I'm remembering it, even if it's so silly and stupid, still feels important in some way. And you're still learning something about someone that kind of comes into play later. Like something I have in my notes is that like rewards are earned, and like people in this film, at least our 3 or 4 main characters, kind of earn what they get. You know, David earns his Skybacks, Carl earns 26, and he earns his sense of grounding, and Marion, even in a sense, I know you were joking around about her, hopping around from guy to guy, but that was something me and my girlfriend were talking about too, of like, why doesn't, she's just playing both of them. But I kind of see it, I mean, I've seen it a dozen times now, and I kind of see it as actually like honestly, like a kind of progressive view of that, like, she's doing her own thing. Like, she doesn't really care, and like, polygamy. She has a lot of care and love for the both of them, but not in a way that kind of locks her journey into one of their journeys. Like, she's there to help David and she helps Carl, but also she's there to research why the pteranodons are attacking. She's also there to research like why the sunstones are going out. She's also there to find an entrance to the world below. Like, she's doing her own thing. And my girlfriend, the wonderful, intelligent, beautiful person that she is, pointed out this awesome moment in part 3 where they descend in the submarine to the world beneath. And it's Carl and David and Cyrus Crab, who is a ridiculous character. But instead of going with, Marion instead gives the both of them, to play on what you said earlier about her loving both of them, she gives them her Heartstone, and she doesn't give it to either of them. She just goes, you guys both take this, like, you're gonna need it. And it turns out that like the Heartstone is what powers a submarine, so like it aids the both of them. So it's, in a way, she's giving her heart out to the both of them in like a supportive kind of way, in not like a overly sexual, like submissive type of way that you would see in a lot of films. So she's just kind of like, dude, I'm here, you guys are dope, you got your own thing, like, here you go. And so like, I just had to throw that out there.
She talked the whole time.
Those pteranodons
you guys
are not
tight as fuck.
Yeah, those pteranodons are fucking with shit, yo.
Yeah, dude, they're killing the vibe in here, and we really need that.
So I had to point that out, is all I'm saying. Is I think the only reason it's apparent too is that the boys make a point about it. Like, one of my favorite lines is they're up in the nest. David has to do that ridiculous climb, and they're up in the nest, like way on top of the world, and then they're like almost about to kiss, and that little messenger bird shows up, and he's like, "A message for Marion," and he starts whining. David goes, "I can't believe this. Here we are on top of the world, and my brother still manages to get in the way." And it's like, basically he's saying like, yo, my brother's cock blocking me. Yeah. Whereas Marion doesn't give a shit. She's like, dude, he's just saying hi, like, get over it. Yeah. Which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, she's like a weirdly likable character for somebody who other people seem to say complete opposite things about, and would love to slap the smile off of that bitch. But no, I think she's great. I think like I'd fall in love with her if I was stuck on an island.
Oh, she's great, dude.
Yeah, she's just a ray of positivity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, and even like earlier, like for literally my first bullet point for episode 2, when she's talking with Rosemary, her mother, I was like, wait, I wrote, wait, is this movie feminist?
Yeah.
Surprise.
Like, I was like, oh shit, this is cool.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you, dude. There's a lot of stuff in the movie that could lean towards like really stereotypical and really kind of like a bad message, but it never really does. Even though it's not like the best made film or the best editing, which again, the editing is fucking trash. Like the editing is awful. I hate it.
Yeah.
It's my least favorite part. I'm actually have crusaded and challenged myself to put the whole movie in Adobe and re-edit the whole movie for myself because I hate the editing. But besides all that, like there's a lot of stuff in the movie that could go like really south. And in even characters as ridiculous as the dad, the patriarch, like he still kind of like gets his due and gets his kind of comeuppance, and they make a fool out of him the way he should be, because not that he's like a bad father, but he's a bad leader. And the mother, she is a good leader, but she comes on too strong, and so she needs to rein it back. And like Marion is like, she's adventurous, but like she also needs to kind of spread her intelligence across like 3 or 4 different like paths. And then Carl, blah blah blah. We talked about Carl and David. They need to learn. And then Zippo is just a badass motherfucker. Dude.
Yeah. And Zippo's the fucking hero. He brings the Sunstone back, doesn't he?
Yes.
Am I remembering that right?
She throws it to him, right? And
yeah.
He like puts it in.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Zippo's an angel. Zippo's the greatest. I love that motherfucker.
Yeah, he gets bit pretty hard, huh?
Yeah, he gets fucked up.
Oh, okay, go ahead. My bad.
No, I was gonna ask. It was pretty tangential. So if you wanna keep going, I'll give you the opportunity to.
No,
speak
go ahead.
now.
Go ahead.
All right.
I talk too much.
You got that right.
No, I won't disagree with your agreeance.
I would like to hear your case. This is actually just leading you to talk more, not gonna lie. I'd like to hear your case on why they aren't having sex between species, and how that pertains to their being half man, half dinosaur that exists in the world. Is it like a chicken and the egg situation?
No. Okay, so point number 1. Is there ever another half dinosaur, half man creature in the show?
Not that we see, but we can speculate.
We can speculate all day, but you brought up the hieroglyphics earlier. When they finally get down to the world beneath, there's a hieroglyphic of the OG like guy who, I don't know, what do they say? He's the founder of Dinotopia, or the founder of Waterfall City. I don't remember his name. But he's half man, half dinosaur. And I think one of them even says it. They go, well, how could you be half dinosaur? You know, and the other one says, well, or I think Cyrus Crab actually says, well, I think it's more of an interpretation than a literal sense of like, he has joined mankind and dinosaurs together into harmony, which is like what Dinotopia is. Not that he fucked a dinosaur and had a little weird dinotars, running around.
It's just weird that they have a special union, and also we see that.
That is true.
And also all the flirting between Carl and Zippo, despite like the weird hatred for Zippo that Carl has. I'm just saying, I'm sure it's happened.
I also, because I get you, but on like an actual serious note, I think, because again, me and my girlfriend talked about this. We were watching, I don't know if you guys have watched the new HBO, His Dark Materials.
No.
Which is, again, because I brought it up at the beginning of this episode, the Polar Express, the Golden Compass.
Yeah.
It's the Golden Compass, reworked. It's the original, it's an adaptation of the original source material. And in that, they have what's called demons, which are these animal-like sidekicks that you have, which they describe as a physical manifestation of one's inner being and like their spirituality. So it's like basically your soul and your spirituality manifested in like an animal partner. And I think it's really similar. What's cool about Dinotopia is it's more of, like you said, like a union, like they find each other, which could lead to maybe like a misunion, a mismatch. Whereas in his
I
Dark
want to see
Materials,
Dinosaur Divorce Court.
yeah,
That's the court
Dinosaur
drama
Divorce,
that I want.
Judge Brown Jared dealing with Dinosaur Divorce. But
I'd watch the fuck out of that.
I don't know. I just thought it was cool because it's more spiritual than it leads on. Because at first glance, yeah, you're going, what the fuck? Like, what is it? Your wife? You're dating a dinosaur? Like, I don't get it. But like, if you look a little closer, it's pretty spiritual. Same with that grounding ceremony. It's like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, you have a animal partner who helps you through whatever, and you spiritually ground with the dinosaurs. But I hear you. They're very well could be a half man, half dinosaur, hillbilly creature playing a dino banjo in the underworld, like waiting for unassuming victims.
They finally get there, and he's playing dueling banjos as they lock him.
One set of his hands is playing the banjo, and then the other set of his hands is playing the other dueling banjo off the other side.
The strumming hand for each is dinosaur hands, but the other one is human. He's like this weird General Grievous who's half dinosaur. Oh,
that's great.
Yeah,
so
we're coming up on the 2 hour mark though. Should we move on to one of the most influential films of all time?
I just want to hear what's your favorite. Talking? I just want to hear what's your favorite scene.
And I'm me, I like the Skybacks scene with David. I think it's fantastic, like genuinely fantastic. The ping pong scenes made me giggle like a fucking schoolgirl. Those both are top tier for me. There's a scene where I forget what they're doing. They're like trying to make an escape or something with Cyrus. I don't know whether or not to trust him. And Zippo coughs up some information. He's like, he kidnapped me and put me in a sack and dropped me into the canal. And for some reason, none of them are like, take it seriously. Like, oh, don't be a baby. Like, okay. I feel like
Cyrus goes like, Cyrus just goes, yeah, it's okay. You can trust me now. And they're all like, okay.
Yeah. So any scene like that where it's just blatant disregard for every piece of information they've been presented is fantastic. Honestly, I love every scene. 26 almost dying has a special place in my heart because of our Uncle Ernie weeping for 26. Yeah, those are probably the top 4 for me personally.
Those are all up there for me. I love the rescue of 26, and I kind of mentioned a lot of my favorite scenes too already, but just 26's birth, the Skyback's machine training, and like David getting upset at hearing the lyrics to Bohemian Rhapsody.
I'd say my favorite scene is probably there's 2 of them. There's one. Honestly, any scene with the Skybacks Captain Unu, I think, Captain Unu, and like he's just so great. Like, I'm sorry, cadet, you will never ride a Skybacks, and you are dismissed from the academy forthwith. Like it's so good. Or like every cadet has made this jump, and he's jumping over like a 7,000-foot ravine, like it's fucking no problem. And so he's great.
Have you seen the game show Weakest Link? Because he has the same cadence.
Exactly.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Right, dude. Exactly. And so any scene with him, I think, is fantastic. And then there's a scene that's so good. I don't know if you guys remember, but spoilers, of course. When they get to the world beneath, they find their father, and they, have to swim up this like water tube, which we won't get into the physics of how that works, but they have to swim up a water tube by jumping down into a pool, and it's very strange. But before they go, the dad is freaking out because he almost drowned in the beginning of the film when their plane crashed. And he's like, no, I can't do it. You guys have to do it. Just go without me. Send someone back. And they're like, dude, we don't know if we could ever get back in here again. Like, you have to come with us. And so he's freaking out. And David whips out like the most incredible and short-winded, like emotional, motivational speech ever. And he just looks his dad dead in the eye and he goes, Dad, you're the most brave and amazing man I've ever met in my entire life. And what we're about to do is only a fraction of what you've been through. And this time we're doing it together. And it's like, dude, it brings a tear to my eye. I swear to God, I'm like, holy shit. And that's like that. David more so than Carl. That is like the climax of David's character arc. Of David like slapping someone in the face and going like, let's go, dude. Let's get it done. And it's so good. And so those are my favorite scenes for sure.
Hell yeah.
Let's get on to this dumbass movie.
All right. Before we do, time for another installment of everybody's favorite segment.
Cool. Bad reviews.
Jared reads bad reviews of movies we're watching because it's funny and it makes him laugh and stuff. This one comes from 20057KMZ on IMDb, much like the other two. He gave it a 1 out of 10, saying Spielberg at his worst. And I don't know if you've noticed a theme throughout these. But I picked reviews that related him to other movies. For Dinosaur, he talked about Land Before Time too much. In the previous, he did Jurassic Park at the end there. And this one, the man loves Titanic too much. So here we go. Box office grosses of this terrible movie make all the box office grosses of Titanic extremely deserving. That's right, and how the hell did this abomination of a movie get a better rating than Titanic on this site? The reason for my strange praise for Titanic is because at least Titanic had a story at the foreground and special effects were used to support that story. The opposite is happening in this movie, where the special effects take a front seat, and in fact, the only purpose of this movie. Everything in this movie is horrible except for the special effects. If you want Spielberg at his best, then watch Saving Private Ryan or Minority Report. 1 out of 10.
Minority Report?
Out of all the
You put Minority Report next to fucking Saving Private Ryan? Wow.
Oh,
That is a great review.
yeah.
What a crazy user, man. I always love when we bring up a classic. Because it's like...
Because somebody's real upset about people liking it for some reason.
Jurassic Park came out in 1993. Became one of the most successful movies ever made. It's still the fifth best VHS tape. It's the fifth best-selling VHS tape ever. It grossed $912 million in its initial release in 1993. It had, I think at the time it was still like the most tickets ever sold at 86.2 million tickets, which is insane. When Spielberg released it later on, re-released it in 3D, it pushed it past the billion mark. So it's one of the few movies to cross that threshold. It won 3 Oscars for sound editing, sound mixing, and visual effects. And the initial critical success of the film has only since been magnified as children who grew up with the movie became film critics and have widely hailed it as one of the best science fiction films of all time and one of the best blockbusters of all time. So, there's not a whole lot I can say about Jurassic Park that hasn't already been said. I'll just say, like, my own experience. I originally watched it. I've never seen it on the big screen, unfortunately. But I did watch it a lot on VHS, and it was one of the, like, to me, being a 4-year-old watching this thing, like, it was the scariest movie I had ever seen, especially the Velociraptor sequence through the kitchen. I would literally dive head first behind my aunt's couch just to hide from the Velociraptors. It has such a profound effect, and even watching it like as an adult, where it's like not that scary, it's still super intense and it's still super engaging, super involving. Now that I'm older, or as I got older and I rewatched the movie on DVD over and over and over again, I grew to love the performances, especially by Sam Neill and Laura Dern, Richard Attenborough, Jeff Goldblum, and Samuel L. Jackson. They're all like the movie's super surprisingly character driven, and really everybody has, a lot of times with blockbusters you get these like with something like Avatar or something like I don't know, Batman versus Superman. Like, you get these characters who show up and they play stereotypes, and they're just there to be their stereotype, and they don't really have a reason for being there. Every single character, Grant, Ellie Sadler, Hammond, Malcolm, and Arnold, they all have a reason to be there. They all have a reason to move from place to place. And they all have really cool quotes and really cool scenes. The movie, while it is a spectacular treat visually and sonically, it actually does delve into themes of playing God. It deals with themes of corporate greed. They also address a reverence for nature. That's one of the things that I love most about the movie. One of the most famous quotes from the movie is that is by Jeff Goldblum's character Malcolm. He says, "Life finds a way," and you see that both in the dinosaurs and in the human characters. You also see a lot of corporate arrogance, and you see a lot of the what is that word? I can't read my own writing. Commodification of nature, and I remember being so excited because I'd only seen it up on tape until my parents got this, but in Costco they had this trilogy box set of the first 3 movies, where you open up the box and it opens up like the gates to Jurassic Park, and you get to dive in and see all these awesome pictures of the dinosaurs. And that's one of my favorite things that we own. I keep it out of the sun. I keep it it still works today. I watched it even just blowing up the DVD and making it, and it kind of looked bad. It's still it still works for me. I still like watching it a lot. So yeah, Jurassic Park is the easiest 9.7 I've ever given a movie. It's so good. It's so brilliant, and there's some CGI that looks a little thing, but you totally forgive it when you see the practical stuff, when you see the animatronics. It's very easy to forgive some of the a couple of the birds that look weird,
Yeah. Even that bad CGI looks better than Dinosaur 7 years later.
Yeah, well, you can forgive it pretty easy because the story's entertaining and engrossing, just like Dinotopia.
Just like that cinematic classic, Dinotopia. Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that you just said. It's a fantastic fucking movie. It's Jurassic Park. Everybody loves it. Everybody knows it's amazing, except this fucker from the internet. I love it. I think it's yeah. No, the fucking 257 KMZ4. Yeah, it's great. I love it. I gave it a 9.5. I think the effects are mind blowing, especially for '93. Even if this came out today, I'd be like, yeah, this looks good. I'm happy with it. There's a scene after the kitchen scene, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, where it's shot top down, and she's jumping through the ceiling, and the raptor's jumping up at her. And that's such a hard shot to pull off CGI, because you got to green screen her. You got to do all that, but it looks amazing. Like it's probably the best looking CGI shot in the whole film.
Well, slow it down next time because
Yeah.
it's not her. It's a stunt double, but you're not paying attention,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
leads to the how good the movie is and how well it's made. But if you pause it, freeze frame it, you see this like totally random actress with a wig on.
Oh
It's
yeah,
so
but I'm just saying
great.
like the CGI looks great underneath it.
Oh,
A little
totally.
bit of green screen fuzz, but like whatever. So like everything about it is fun. It's got so much charm to it. Every character is lovable except for Newman. Even Jeff Goldblum, as over the top as he is, still fantastic in every way because he would be over the top. That character deserves to be played by Jeff Goldblum. So yeah, I gave it a 9.5. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you guys say. Like, this movie is fantastic, and to speak to my own experience, yeah, I think it's probably the most rewound VHS tape I had, besides my television recording of Dinotopia. And I have seen this movie. I've seen this movie so many times. Like, it's unbelievable. And I think the first time I watched it was at my cabin. I've got a cabin in Northwest California, and
Humble brag.
and no, dude, I'm just mean like we were up there and we had this tiny little TV with the built-in VHS player, and we had like maybe 4 or 5 movies, and I think the majority of them were pretty mature movies that we weren't allowed to watch, me and my sister. But at maybe age 4, my dad decided it was time. And he goes, yeah, we're going to watch Jurassic Park. And so I remember we flipped it on, that little tiny white, like 10-inch TV. And yeah, it terrified me. It scared the living shit out of me and my sister, but it was so good. And I've probably seen it 20 plus times since then. And I agree with you guys. And I actually did get to see it in theaters with my dad. Again, yeah, we decided to go see it when they re-released it in 3D. We thought that would be fun, which was, 3D is 3D, but the big piece of it was the sound. The sound design and the sound editing and mixing is just fantastic. So to listen to that in a theater is just an amazing opportunity. So if it ever comes out again, definitely go see it in theaters. I agree with you guys that the CGI is just incredible, especially the nighttime scenes, when it's in the rain. And a lot of movies get flack because they use nighttime and rain to cover up their CG. And
Dinosaur.
something about Jurassic Park just enhances the CG, and it makes it look that much more real and textured, and like it's reacting to real life and the real environment. And that kitchen scene is fantastic, because me and my sister, we're about that age gap too, so we identified with them like really hardcore. And so something about seeing them kind of like fighting for their lives, like we really latched on to. We're like, oh my god, this is so exciting. And the end is great, and my favorite scene is the tree scene when Tim is stuck in the tree, and just the tension throughout the whole movie is just amazing, and the score is amazing. And Steven Spielberg at his worst, then I want to see him at his best. Like, come
Watch
on, that movie's
Minority
awesome.
Report.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give it. Yeah, I have it down here in my notes as a 9 out of 10. So yeah, it's fantastic. It's one of the best movies, as like an exercise in competent filmmaking. It's one of, I think, the best films ever made.
What would keep it from like a perfect 10 for you guys? Like what went into that score, and what went into your scores to keep it from there?
Good question. I have some cons written down. My notes. Jared, you want to go?
Sure. Yeah, I think I just would have liked a little more outside plot besides the dinosaurs, because there's a lot, like the big character arc besides that is really why am I blanking on the literal main character's name? Alan. Yeah.
Remember, dude, always
I
remember the
remember.
Velociraptor. The Velociraptor on an airplane. I couldn't get that out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Alan.
I would like post-production Jared to play the soundbite right now.
Alan.
Thank you. Yeah, Alan. Sorry for the extra work. Yeah, the like only standout obvious, not the only, but like the most obvious character arc with that is his hatred for kids that he kind of develops, and it's like this weird parental narrative with him. I think they could have done a little better with it. I'm glad they didn't go the tacky romance route between the two. Like it's not. There's some tension there, but it's not like really anything, which I super appreciate. They could have easily been like, oh, they're gonna fall in love and make out while Velociraptors are trying to get into the car. Yeah, and I'm so glad they didn't go that direction. But I kind of just wish there was a little more like outside development besides we have to survive. That's just kind of me though.
Yeah, I agree. Brian?
I would say I disagree. Just throw a little wrench in the action
controversy
there. I would say I disagree because I think that's a big part of the movie. Like we say, man versus nature. And so the second the electric fences turn off, like, fuck your outside narrative. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, it is survival. And, but I agree with you that the whole, Alan not liking kids and him and Laura Dern's character, I forget her name.
Ellie Sadler.
Ellie, thank you. Alan and Ellie.
Alan.
They could easily be a little sappy, but they're not. And I think I appreciate the movie didn't steer into the whole like, oh, I'm learning what it means to be a protective father. It's just like, no, shut up, climb the fence, let's go. You know what I mean? So I appreciate, and I think that's why I don't care too much for the outside story, because a lot of the outside story comes in like 2 and 3, which we're not really here to talk about.
Well, but I just kind of wanted a little more development with the characters. Like, this is a whole change of thing. Like, learn something along the way.
Sure, yeah, I hear that, because like, and also, some characters don't learn anything. Are you talking about the blood-sucking lawyer?
No, Dennis.
Dennis.
The guy who plays Newman in Seinfeld.
Here you go. Get the stick. Get the stick.
He's just obnoxious as fuck. I'm glad his death is satisfying.
Well, dude,
the
he's
rest
in
of
there.
I'm over him.
He's in there as a bullet point for one of my favorite parts about the movie. I think he is, again, to play into that same theme of like man versus nature. Like, he is the perfect like Darwinism angle to the whole thing of like, look at this absolute idiot and how he doesn't respect nature and he doesn't respect the way of life and like he doesn't respect his own survival, and I just think it's great. Anyway, so what keeps it from being a 10? I think some of the dialogue can be a little cheesy. Maybe the first half of the movie is, I think, pretty good. And the second half of the movie can lead to some kind of silly dialogue that's like fun and memorable. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's memorable, but it doesn't necessarily need to like be there. Like a lot of stuff on the walkie-talkie when he's talking Ellie, to go through like the, when she's trying to turn the power back on, I think can be a little much. I think the whole push baby push is just kind of out of place. So, and then there was one other line that got me. Oh no, not a line. It's another point in that keeps it from being a 10 is, this is so nitpicky. It's just ridiculous. And you guys are probably gonna hate me, but there's a few moments in the movie that are like super obvious repeated camera angles. And I guess to the untrained eye, it doesn't matter. It just looks like more jungle. But like Ellie Sadler jumps over the same branch like 3 times when she's running away from the Velociraptors. And it just pulls me. I've seen this movie 30, 40 times. It pulls me out of the movie every time I see it because it's so awkward. And it's like, dude, Steven Spielberg has all the money in the world. Like, he couldn't just like knock over another tree or like build another fake tree. Like it's just so awkward and random to me. And then of course my last piece that keeps it from being a 9 is the whole hacking the mainframe at the end of the film, dude. When she's hacking the main, she's just.
I prefer to be called a hacker.
Yeah, it's just a little unbelievable, and her, she doesn't have much to do the whole movie, so I get that's why they let her do that at the end of the film, but it's just a little unbelievable that she can hack into like one of the most high tech, secretive dinosaur captive. Entertainment. Spared no expense, and like a 12-year-old gymnast can hack into it, and like it's just a little silly. So that's what keeps it from being a perfect 10 for me. Everything else, it would just take too long to explain. Everything about the movie besides those points is fantastic.
Yeah, I think they kind of forget about Malcolm in the third act, and I didn't like that very much this time around. Like he even butts heads so much with Hammond in the first act, and it's like, I don't know. I know that Hammond does get that really awesome conversation over ice cream with Ellie, and like that's one of my it's not a favorite scene, but it's like it's up there, because of the way Spielberg shoots it, and because both of these characters are very vulnerable. But I just like he's so awesome in the first like half of the movie, and then like the movie kind of forgets about him in favor of Grant and his story. But that was my only thing. That's why I rated it so high. I do love. We can go to that ice cream scene. I love when Ellie says near the end of the scene, she says, "I didn't have enough respect for that power, and now it's out there." And like that's the whole thesis of the film right there. And I love Laura Dern so much in literally everything she's in, and this scene easily reminds me why. And like the way the movie's paced and the way the movie's edited is so smooth. Like I honestly didn't even notice the thing with the branches this time around. I was like, oh shit. Like when you pointed it out, I was like, oh shit. I like the tree scene a lot too. I like the RV scene in the second one a little bit better. But of the falling vehicle scenes, like those, I like that one a little bit better. But yeah, the Jeep in the tree is pretty awesome too.
Yeah.
You guys are talking a lot about the rain with the first T-Rex encounter. I just think it's so cool that they make you wait literally like between 61 and 62 minutes for a T-Rex. And you get that initial disappointment in the beginning that the characters feel. And like I just love like that it's just an immediate and jarring shift in the tone of the movie.
Yes.
Yeah, like I really love that as well.
And the callback to that disappointment with the leg falling on top of the Jeep is fucking great too.
What's the matter, kid? You don't like lamb chops?
I'm a vegetarian.
So good. And like every time I watch it, I can't help myself just yelling at the screen, "Turn off the light!"
Yes.
Like, yeah.
I do think I dock like 0.1 points automatically during that scene for the toilet death.
Oh, I love that scene.
What are you talking about? That's the best one.
You gotta go.
They're leaning in too hard with that one.
Yeah, it is a little silly, but something about it is like it kind of transcends its memorable nature, like transcends how silly it is because it's so ridiculous, but it's so perfect that it's the blood-sucking lawyer that gets trapped in the bathroom and the whole thing blows over like a house of straw and he's just sitting there on the toilet. Like it's so good. But there's also that harrowing moment where Alan successfully distracts the T-Rex. Like you're like, oh, thank God. Yeah. And then Malcolm gets out of the car going, hey! And you're just like, bro, no, come on.
because he's a dad. He's got to protect it's his primal thing. But yeah, it's interesting that stands out to you guys, because I wanted to ask you, like, do you think the movie would be like better or worse if it was more violent? Because Spielberg's definitely holding back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the book is crazy violent.
Yeah.
No.
It would have been. I don't know if it would have like, it just would have been a different movie. I feel like it's like asking if Jaws would have been better or worse if we saw the shark more, which, like, you could speculate, yes, but like, or yeah.
What
but
about
like,
Minority Report if we've seen Tom Cruise less?
Minority Reports is a perfect movie, please.
It's interesting that you bring up Jaws, because like when you look at a lot of the early Spielberg movies, he really doesn't give a shit. Like like Raiders of the Lost Ark is really violent.
It is, yeah.
And there's so much blood in it for something that's rated PG. And then same thing with Temple of Doom. So a lot of people don't know, like, before Temple of Doom, PG-13 didn't exist.
Yes.
Yeah.
That movie was rated PG, and you see a guy's heart get ripped out. You see him get burned to death in the same scene. And because of that, a bunch of parents were like, hey, dude, you're scarring our children. And since then, Spielberg has had an entirely different approach to violence in his films. Because you look at his movies before Temple of Doom and after Temple of Doom, and he's got an entirely different approach to it.
Depending on what rating he's going for, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But even in his rated R stuff, like, he's very clearly saying, like, violence is wrong, and like violence is not redeemable. So I just think it's interesting that he has a concept where the violence of having like nature dominate humankind, like having that in the movie is such a key theme, and yet, you know, he does hold back in this movie. I just think it's interesting that I don't think it's good or bad.
No, I don't think it would have necessarily been better if it was more violent. I mean, I don't know, it's like a classic idea or, you know, theme or ideology of like creative filmmaking of, you know, less is more, and without explicitly showing you what's going on, like what other elements of the filmmaking process can be used to support. So like when the T-Rex eats that lamb or whatever, like that whole scene is fantastic, because what you just see its claw, and then you get the scary kind of ominous pitter patter of the rain, maybe some far off thunder and lightning of like what's coming, and you get the tension, the actual wires on the electric fence when they're the sound of the tension snapping, and then you get this kind of low guttural. You're not even sure if it's the sound of the jungle or not, but it's like if they just showed everything, it would just be like, you know, I'm gonna eat you, and you're gonna just see this lamb get eaten straight up, and it's gonna be bloody, and you're gonna go, oh, that was intense. But if you don't see it and you get all these extra elements kind of supporting the idea, it becomes so much more visceral, in my opinion, because, you know, of course, the human brain is incredibly powerful. So you're sitting there going, oh my God, how big is that thing? Or like, is it hungry anymore? Is it not? I wonder if that lamb suffered, if the goat suffered or not, or was it quick? I don't know. How does a T-Rex even work? Like, how many teeth does it have? You know, so it helps to build this tension out, like, that I think is, I don't know, probably works to the film's benefit. Like even that scene when they're out in the field and the T-Rex comes out, and you see it grab that, he goes, Gallimimus. And the T-Rex grabs a Gallimimus, and you see it, like, it grabs that motherfucker and throws it down and starts to eat it. And just when it gets, like, about to the point where you maybe don't want to see anymore, it switches over to Tim in his, like, childlike nature, kind of viewing it for us and just going, look at all the blood. And you're just sitting there imagining, like, yeah, thank you, because I don't know if I really want to see that, you know. But I'm glad it's your imagination is still validated in a way of him saying that. Look at all the blood, and you're going, okay, yes. So I did think it was bloody. I did think it was going to be gross, but I don't necessarily need to see it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
You could. I was just gonna say I definitely agree. I feel like while you were talking, I kind of made the connection of like the difference between slashers and like psychological thrillers. Like they're both great, but they serve different purposes, and this would have just been a completely different film had it been a big gore fest.
Yeah, and like I'm glad you mentioned that scene because that's exactly what one of the scenes that I wrote down for this question. And also one thing that I noticed was like when the velociraptors kill the hunter guy, you can see it like just barely see the head like biting down on his face.
Yes.
But the branches are covering the guy's face. So it's like it's a really perfect balance, I think, that Spielberg finds between like his old self of, I'm gonna show Quinn getting bitten in half, versus like his new of like E.T. where it's like it's still heavy hitting, but it's good for kids too.
And it also helps with the special effects. Like you're not gonna make giant splatters of blood look good in 1993. So the fact that you like cover it up, or the fact that you do that, it plays in the special effects favor too, and it holds up better because of it.
Yeah,
I agree. Fantastic movie. What's your least favorite scene? If there is one.
Least favorite scene. It ends a little abruptly for me. Or actually, they get from the car to the helicopter like abruptly. Like I would like to see like a couple like it because it's just Grant and Hammond talking, and then they're all of a sudden they're in the helicopter. Like I would like to see other people kind of take a breath when they reach the car. That's pretty much my only thing, was that it just felt a little abrupt. But
yeah, I think that was the one that came to my mind too. And also, since I was shitting on Newman too much, I'll include a scene with him. The first meeting where he's like doing the sour cream canister, he like wipes it on the pie.
Dotson, we got Dotson over here.
I don't know if I like hate it or love it, because like for most of it I'm annoyed. But like the whipped cream part I like, the Dodson part I like, and the don't get cheap on me part is hilarious too. And so like it just treads this line between like one of my least favorites and one of my favorites so finely that I don't know how to feel about it, and it confuses me.
yeah,
that's great.
We talked about how influential. We briefly mentioned how influential the movie is. Like, I don't know what like how has the movie's like legacy affected you guys? Because we've talked about like how it affected us as little kids, but like the movie's still popular today.
For me, it showed me that movies can like just be fun, like even from a young age, and I feel like that kind of stuck. Like obviously like Jaws is the first blockbuster, but this like movies are allowed to just be entertainment. I know I was shitting on it for not having a lot of character development and shit. But like sometimes you could just sit down, watch dinosaurs rip stuff up, and it could be well done and enjoyable throughout, and you don't need some like big romance. You don't need some like commentary on fascism or anything like that. You could just sit back and enjoy watching some dinos. And I think that stuck with me, and I think it stuck with a lot of people. I like it's a big leap to say, but I don't think that like superhero movies would be such a big thing if it wasn't for movies like Jurassic Park just showing like, yeah, you can enjoy something and not have too much substance to it.
No, you're absolutely right. It revolutionized the box office and the way studios approach box office release or summer blockbuster releases in the way that you mentioned.
Exactly. Fuck Titanic, dude.
And that's funny. Let's see. How did it affect me? Well, I mean, for one, it's one of the most memorable movies I've ever seen, so it's gonna be with me my whole life. You know, I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen it on so many different mediums. You know, VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, theater, 3D. Like, I've seen the movie a million times, and so I think what's cool about the movie is that, I mean, I'm almost 25 years old, and so I saw it when I was 4. So even after 20 plus years of my own life, this movie still.
Come on, Brian.
This
21.
movie still.
You can do that math. I believe in you.
This movie still. This movie still holds up. Like every time I watch it, and there's movies like Dinosaur, the most disappointing release since Disney's Tarzan, that you watch again and you go, wow, okay, so yeah, I was a kid. It was this kid blinders on me that made me love this movie. And you watch something like Jurassic Park and you go, wow, this is just a fantastic movie. So I think sometimes I watch something like Jurassic Park and it can kind of remind me that although film is very subjective, there can sometimes be like an objectivity to film that's like I think I brought up when we first started talking about Jurassic Park, and that like it's just a really good example of an extremely well-made film. Like just at its core of like what makes an entertaining blockbuster, like you said, Jared, like a film that you can just go and sit and watch and not pick apart or not be kind of assaulted by its ridiculousness. You know, like something like BJ, you said, you know, Batman versus Superman, like even the most casual viewer, I think, could watch that movie and get annoyed with it. Whereas something like Jurassic Park, you know, even the most hardcore, you know, diehard nerd who's going to try to pick everything apart would still be elated and thrilled by this movie and enjoy it. And I think it also plays into the sequels of that. Like, you're right, Jared, it's like you can just have a silly, fun movie. And what's cool, I think, about number 2 and 3 is that they don't necessarily try to up the ante. Yes, there's 2 T-Rexes in number 2, I know. But they don't try to outdo themselves to the point of like mockery and to the point of like completely doing away with what came before. They just kind of present like a new angle, another story, a little bit more. And I think those 2 sequels, even the third one, like I love those movies. I think they're really fun in that same regard. They're maybe not as well made. The second one's pretty damn good, but they're that same idea of just like sitting down watching some dinos. Like, perfectly put. Like, it's great. It's great fun, except for the gymnastics scene in number 2, which we don't talk about. We don't talk about that.
Favorite scene in number 2 though is not into the long grass.
Not into the long grass.
And you just see the tails while they're eating you guys. So
yes, good. Which the Mummy 2 ripped off. You have Mummy 2, right? With the little pygmies in the long grass, and it's the same scene.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys about like the legacy of the movie, but I'm also kind of like mixed about it just because of the way it's been like the franchise has treated it, especially in recent years.
Yes.
Because like, you know, other films in this franchise and in others have managed to like recreate, especially in the first 2 sequels, they've managed to recreate that sense of terror and that sense of wonder in dinosaur human encounters, but like none of them have been able to turn that terror around to actually say something valuable to its audience, I don't think.
Sure.
I also think that like besides all the other things that I mentioned, like this is the reason why the film resonates so deeply with audiences, because it actually has something to say, you know. That's why the love for Jurassic Park will never die. But I think the response to that love was that the studio took was toys and was merchandise and was literally commodifying the dinosaurs that Spielberg is saying, like, you shouldn't commodify this. This is nature. You have to respect nature and respect its power.
Yeah.
And I it's a direct contradiction to what the movie says about corporate greed, and a contradiction to what Hammond's journey is, because like he's a really cool character. Like, you know, you look at other billionaire characters and they're automatic assholes, but he, you know, you understand what he's doing. You understand that he's coming from a good place, that he's coming from a sincere place, and he just made a mistake. And like just seeing the way the movie is treated now, and the way the Jurassic franchise is treated now, it's kind of it makes me happy that a movie like Jurassic Park 1993 exists, but it makes me sad that it's kind of become this like, I don't know. I don't even know what it is. It's just a toy vehicle.
Commercial bastard child.
Well, there's that moment in the original Jurassic Park that kind of perfectly puts into visualization what you're saying, and I think it's right before the scene where Hammond and Ellie are eating ice cream, where it's like really omnipresent and there's nobody there, and the camera is kind of gliding through the gift store, like the souvenir store, and you see all this merchandise, like kids' pajamas and lunch boxes and coffee mugs and, you know, sippy cups and like everything that is all labeled Jurassic Park, you know, because Mr. Bloodsucking Lawyer and the like are trying to monetize and capitalize on this idea. And like, just like you're saying, but then it's like, dude, go to Universal Studios, and the second you get off the ride, like, there you are. Like, you're right in the movie and you're surrounded by pajamas and ponchos and t-shirts and hats and mugs and cups, all labeled Jurassic Park. So I think that scene like perfectly relates to what you're describing. And it's such a somber scene too, with the music and the lighting, and it makes you feel exactly what you just described.
Yeah, I think that scene, we can pivot right now into favorite scenes. I just said Velociraptor because I was thinking about the Velociraptor scenes. But yeah, that scene is up there. And we've talked about the kitchen one, and I also wanted to highlight the when the raptor hatches, the baby one. That's up there.
I am here
like
for
in the
all
top
of the
3.
births.
Yeah. So good. Any other favorite scenes that you guys want to mention before we close out?
Yeah, I mean that same scene that I just mentioned and you said was one of your favorites, I thought about like 20 minutes ago when we were talking about good scenes. It's like, dude, that's like an amazing scene. And I think I've mentioned it quite a few times already, but the tree, when Tim is stuck in the tree, I think is one of the most intense scenes, if not like the most intense scene of the entire movie, because it doesn't even have anything to do with dinosaurs. It's just like a shitty situation. And there's this great video on YouTube. I don't remember who it's by. I'm sure we could look it up, but it's about how action scenes work in film. And they talk about like what makes a good action scene. I'm not saying this person's opinion is gospel, but they make a good point in the how easy it is to follow cause and effect. And that scene is a perfect, description of cause and effect in an action scene of like, okay, well, Tim's in a tree. Why is he in a tree? Because they drove off because of the T-Rex. So like everything relates. And then Alan climbs the tree. And then Tim needs to come over to the door. So the weight shifts. And then he reaches for something to stabilize. So the steering wheel turns. And then everything has a direct cause and effect that creates the tension of the scene. So there isn't any one point where you're just like, oh, that's ridiculous or that's unbelievable. It's like the whole scene, you're just biting your nails. Like, how are they going to get him out of the tree and not get crushed? It's so good. And then I think one of my other favorites is I don't ever remember his name, the guy with the shotgun.
Yeah, I forgot his name too.
Yeah, I mean, when he goes out there, though, like, trying to outsmart the Velociraptors, and then they end up outsmarting him. Uh-huh. You mentioned it earlier, and he gets eaten within the behind the bushes and the grass. It's like, it's just such a good scene to watch him, like, hunt. And then, as simple as it is, to watch the reversal of him becoming the hunted is, like, so satisfying. And he even and that's the thing, is it reminds you, like, he's a human being. He's intelligent enough to recognize that he's been outplayed and he just goes, "Clever girl," and then he just gets fucked up, and it's so good. So those are probably my favorite.
And Grant foreshadows it in the very beginning too. Grant foreshadows it in the very beginning. He's like,
Yes.
they won't attack you up front. They'll attack you from the side.
Yes, exactly. And then he gets, and one last thing, when you said earlier, when he's getting eaten and it's obscured by the bushes and the leaves, and then the camera pans left to that, it's either a snake or a lizard on the branch, but then you can barely see the velociraptor's eye right there. Like, oh, there's the second one, just kind of like watching like a creep. And like that took me forever to notice, especially watching it on VHS. It's like maybe the fourth or fifth time I watched it, I realized there was actually an eyeball right there, center frame. You don't even see. So it just adds into that whole idea of like they're sneaky as hell.
Yeah. All of those would easily make my list. The T-Rex introduction, we mentioned it before, not officially on this list, but obviously that makes a cut for all of us, I'm assuming. One scene that I really like that is actually a lot to do with the last scene you just mentioned, where like the hunter becomes the hunted. It's actually when the T-Rex intervenes and eats the velociraptor and like fucks it up to save them when they're running away. Because it also reminds you like these dinosaurs aren't hunting humans; they're just being them. Like they'll fuck each other up too.
Right.
They're just doing what they do, and people happen to be in this world. And so it kind of reminds you like the nature of it all, rather than like, oh, these guys are bad guys because they want to kill people. You're like, nah, we're just like in their world now, and so good luck. So I think it's a great reminder of that. And I think that's the only one that wasn't mentioned by you guys that I feel like should be included.
Honorable mention when Grant has a seatbelt and it's the two female ends. And he has to tie them together, and Malcolm says, that line the first time, I think, like life finds a way, right?
Yep.
Or at least it's foreshadowing it. It's foreshadowing that whole idea that all the dinosaurs on the island are female. They still figure it out anyways.
I do hate how he says it the first time because it's such a forced he's like, life finds a way.
It's great.
Yeah.
That's great, dude.
It's just a little too much Goldblum for such a classic line.
I feel you. You guys were so preoccupied with whether or not you could that you didn't stop to think about whether or not you should. I think my favorite Goldblum line from the whole movie is I just quoted it at work yesterday, and he goes, that is one big pile of shit. So good.
My favorite Goldblum line while we're on the topic is see here now I am talking to myself after everybody just leaves.
Yes, that is a great scene.
Oh. All right.
If you haven't seen it, go watch Jurassic Park.
Yeah, what are you doing? Why haven't you?
It's pretty good. It gets a negative 10 out of 10 for enjoyment.
Watch Titanic first. Though. Titanic,
Yes.
Minority Report.
Yes.
Yeah, guys, you can watch Jurassic Park pretty much everywhere. I don't even know. Dinotopia is free to stream on IMDb TV. You can watch it with ads. And Dinosaur is available on Disney+. But yeah, I just want to say thank you to my always wonderful co-host, co-producer, Jared Lombardo, and to Brian Baker for coming onto the show.
Yeah.
I'm excited that we were finally able to get you on here.
Yes.
And I can't wait to have you back already.
Yes, thank you guys.
Of course.
Sorry about the multiple delays, but oh my God, what a fun night. What a fun night. I cannot wait to come back and talk everybody's ears off about Lord of the Rings and all the dinosaurs in that movie. And I'm so excited. I had a great time. Super fun, you guys. I miss you both so much.
Yeah,
I hope to see you again very, very soon. I'm enjoying the podcast.
Is there anything you want to plug?
I'm hearing Jared's in stereo. Wow, that was incredible.
We have morphed into Jared Gray.
You guys rehearsed this? You done this before? What's going on? No, there's not much I want to plug. Like we mentioned at the very beginning, I do sound. Unfortunately, I'm not in California right now, but if you got any productions going on in New Mexico, hit me up. bcbaker48@gmail.com, or if you need some post mixing going on, you can just hit me up on Instagram, Facebook, the Bake48, whatever. I don't really care.
Yeah.
Either way, I don't have much to plug.
Yeah, no.
Watch Dinotopia.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's the
and
real
watch
plug.
out for the Brian Baker master re-edit of Dinotopia.
I'm excited.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
All right, fam. You know where to find us at the Jaredcast, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, soon to be Twitter. You can listen to all of our stuff on your favorite streaming platforms for podcasts. Anyway, have a great day, and we love you. Goodbye.